On this episode of Horror Face Off, he's one of horror's most celebrated authors. His books have been in numerous films, and today we break down to 1989's Pet Sematary versus 2017's It. Stephen King night on Horror Face Off. Hey everybody, welcome to Horror Face Off. I'm Jason, and we have a Stephen King episode. There's a million movies that we could have picked, but we're starting off with Pet Sematary 1989 versus It 2017. We've got the original for one and the remake for the other. No method to my madness, but we're pumped to have you. We have an amazing panel as usual, but before we meet them, let's get to the rules of the show.
We take two horror films and match them up against each other. Using specific categories, the show's fearless panelists dissect every bone-chilling detail. In the end, the film that has the most category points wins Horror Face-Off. But the panel needs to think fast, for they only have a limited time to make their case. If they take too long, they will be killed.
So that's how Horror Face-Off works. And here's my slasher, Leighanne. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm ready to write off some of these panelists tonight.
All right. I'm ready to watch you do it. But let's meet them before we kill them. How's that? Okay, so let's start off with John.
Hey, my name's John Popa. I'm just a horror fan in Ohio. It's as exciting as it sounds, and I have nothing to even promote.
All right. Uncle Pete.
Hey, I'm Uncle Pete. You can follow me on YouTube under Your Friendly Neighborhood Uncle Pete, where I talk about the stupid decisions victims make in horror movies, why it's so easy to kill them. And you can follow me in The Last Amityville movie, streaming right now, and also on Blu-ray, so go check it out.
An early intro, a promo kill. Nice. You know it's going to be a good show when that happens. Lovely Haley, I love your makeup. Beautiful. You're up.
Thank you.
Let's see if we can kill you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Haley Scott. I'm an actor and lover of all things horror.
I guess not. All right, so
Nope,
we're gonna go to the new guy, and we're happy to have him. Jacob, welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm Jacob Hoff. I'm an evil TikTok-tress and actress, and you can find me at Jacob M. Hoff.
He spoke slow and still got it all in. Formidable. I don't know, Leighanne, your work's cut out for you. We've met all the panelists, and we're ready to rock and roll. Just once again, watch our videos, do all that kind of stuff. And we are off to the races with plot. And for that, we will start off with Uncle Pete.
I'm going to give this one to Pet Sematary. I love how the story unfolds. It tackles something all of us are going to have to deal with in life. Death. It asks of you the question, if you could cheat death, would you? Would you bring somebody back? Well, even though there were consequences. It has a good story. The book is terrifying. He does feed on fear. But Pet Sematary really hits close to home. It hits fears we all have. Mortality, something we can't escape just yet. You just can't get out of that. The background, Indian tribe tormented by the Wendigo, which led them to committing cannibalism. Plays into the concept is dead is better. That just sounds wonderful rolling off the tongue. It's pretty damn poignant. And it just makes you stop and think about what would you do? How far would you go?
How far you
All
went?
right.
Yep.
Death immediately.
Yeah, two right out of the gate. All right, Haley, you're up.
Okay. So I am going to have to go with It. However, I do love the plot of Pet Sematary as well. I'm a huge dog lover, as you can see my dog behind me as Count Dracula. But I do love the plot of It because it is, has that kind of every 27 years it comes back and, feeding on childhood innocence. So that that's kind of a different level to it. And also it's just kind of a fun time. So I think, there are a lot of clown movies, but I think It is much different than other type of clown movies.
All right, moving on to John.
Yeah, I'm going to give this one to It. I like the generational aspects of it. I like how it all kind of ties into the city of Derry and kind of how it all plays into the individual fears of each of the characters and builds that. into the story where it's just not just the same monster showing up. It's showing up just differently for every different person. But I like how it shows up and it comes back and then it goes away. So I like how it just kind of builds like this historical story over and over and over again. But these are the most important ones experiencing it because they're the ones that are the focus of the story.
Okay, Jacob, your first kick at the can.
I am definitely going with Pet Sematary for this one. It is a bizarre plot that goes all over the place. It is fantastic, but I'm always like, where are we going here with this story? It loses me sometimes, but Pet Sematary, perfectly crafted.
All right, so there it is. We're through round one. Everybody's got the rust off, and we're moving on to setting. And for this one, we will start off with John.
I definitely went with Pet Sematary. I think I heard somewhere that it was actually shot in Maine. All Stephen King stories, of course, take place in Maine, and it definitely feels like this sort of middle of nowhere town in the middle of Maine. It looks great. It looks cool, but it just looks like a general sort of neighborhood that can kind of take place anytime, anywhere. So I think Pet Sematary, it plays into the isolation of where they are and kind of they're kind of on their own, and that big old highway in the middle of it just kind of looming over everything. So I think Pet Sematary takes place in a very cool setting that adds to everything.
All right. Jacob, setting.
Okay, setting, I'm going to give this to It. It has that sort of Stand By Me, that classic 80s feel to it, even if maybe it's a little overdone right now and Stranger Things played it out. I just kind of love the world of it.
All right, so let's go to Uncle Pete.
I'm going with Pet Sematary. Even though both are in Maine, and Derry does look like a fantastic town, it's a wonderful setting, obviously used for many Stephen King stories. But Pet Sematary definitely takes it. The house is beautiful. It's got a tree with a swing on it. I wanted that. And we have to talk about another big part of the movie, the road. The road. I mean, it's a character in itself. It's the most terrifying thing I've ever seen in a horror movie happens on the road. And then you have the Pet Sematary. It's just ominous as hell. You get that beautiful overhead shot with all these like little like hieroglyphic type fucking stuff on it. It's like, what is going on right there? It just looks so ominous and scary. Like, I don't want to go there, but I kind of want to.
Uncle Pete came to die tonight.
He did.
Yeah, love it. It's awesome.
You're welcome,
all right.
man.
I appreciate it.
Keeps Leighanne busy. All right, Haley Wise, you're up.
Okay. So I am going to give it to It. It was actually filmed in Port Hope, Ontario. Fun fact for you. Well, that's part of the reason why I like it, but also just it feels like summer. It feels very nostalgic. It's very picturesque, and there's so many different locations within it, which like I do love when we've got a lot of locations. While I do love Pet Sematary in its location, for me, it's just going to have to be It.
All right. Okay. You guys are pretty short with your opinions. We're going to speed through this episode. All right. So filmmaking is next, and again, filmmaking is your score, it's your effects, it's your sound design, it's whatever you want it to be. It's your direction. However you want to go about it, filmmaking has it all, and we'll start off with Haley, you're up.
So I am going to have to also go with It. I do like, I think they did a very good job with the remake, making it into two different parts because the original being like 3 hours long, that's a long time. The attention span, we're just not going to get there, unfortunately. But I think that they have done a very good job with it, and the effects are very fun. While it feels very modern, there's also kind of some campy 80s sort of horror reference elements in there, which I really like. So it's going to be It.
Remember when like the odd movie would be 2.5 hours long, and it was like, wow, that's long. And now
Yeah.
every freaking movie has to be 2.5 hours minimum. Drives me nuts. And I have a good attention span if the movie's worth it. Anyways, all right, Jacob, you're up.
Well, so I think that the world that Pet Sematary, the filmmaking that Pet Sematary lives in, is the OG that It is trying to pull off. And It relies too heavily on CGI, in my opinion. I think Pet Sematary's practical effects, the sort of, I also think the performances, having little kids run the show in the first It makes it a little wonky sometimes with performances. So I'm going with Pet Sematary.
All right. Uncle Pete, you're up.
I don't want to be buried in a pet cemetery. I just want to pick it for best filmmaking. Marion Lambert hits a home run with this movie. There's so much emotion: love, rage, loss, despair, regret. All when Gage is killed, the way it's shot couldn't have been more effective. You don't see him get hit. You don't want to see him get hit. You don't need to see him get hit. You see that bloody shoe. Then Lewis falling down to his knees. I got goosebumps. Just screaming to the heavens. It hits you hard. Zelda, we'll get to her for characters. Mary Lambert hit you on so many different emotions. She succeeded. Title track, chef's kiss to this movie.
All right. And you
Wow,
stayed
finally
alive.
survived.
All right, John, someone who knows all about surviving.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give this one to It. I know it has the advantage of being a little bit more modern in the technology and just the pace of movies a little different, but I just think it's more stylish, especially the way he kind of works the monsters in and out and kind of builds the fears off the characters. I kind of agree with Mia. I think a lot of Pet Sematary is a little bit mundane, and when cool stuff's not happening, it just kind of sits there for me, and it's just kind of, there's no sort of pace or beat to it. It's just kind of happening without a lot of style. So I think the style of it, I think, is what makes it work so much more than maybe the original one or even Pet Sematary.
We move on to characters, and for characters, we're going to start off with Jacob.
This is going to Pet Sematary, hands down. The kids in It irritate me, and I root for the bullies because I'm just like, quiet down. The Pet Sematary people, they're real. They have human things going on. The plight of, do I bury my child or my wife and bring her back as a zombie just so I can have her physical form here, is unbelievable. Pet Sematary all the way.
All right. Haley, for realsies.
Okay, so I'm actually gonna go with It. I did really like the kids, and like whenever I see like a really good child actor performance, I really appreciate that as an actor. And like they're just all very like different types of kids. Like you can relate to like I knew a kid like that, and they have some hilarious lines. Like when Eddie's talking about like seeing that woman, he's like, "I saw a woman last night," and he's like, "Was she hot?" And he's like, "No, she was not hot." And I just like I just think about that all the time, going like, "Was she hot?" I'm like, there's so many good lines in that, so it's It for me.
John.
Yeah, I'm going to give this one to It. Me and my friends were that foul-mouthed group of kids running around the neighborhood causing problems, so I related to it. I think the new movie did a great job of updating the kids away from the kind of the 50s stereotypes that Stephen King kind of wrote them as originally. Eddie's kind of a spaz, but he's not just like a nerd with the big glasses. He's a very modernized take. I will say Judd is, of course, the best character in both these movies by far, but I think the father's he's just not well acted most of the movie. He's just kind of sitting there like a lump. So I think he kind of drags Pet Semary's characters down because he doesn't give anybody anything to play off of unless you're Fred Gwynn and you're awesome.
John.
2 seconds.
We almost got him, eh? John, I cannot see you as the bad kid. I just can't.
Oh, really?
I can't see it. No. Nope, not at all. But, all right, Uncle Pete.
Close category, but It takes it. I agree with Haley. I like these kids. I will take them any day over those little bastards in Stranger Things. I don't like those kids. Richie is annoying but funny. All these kids are damaged in some way. Before they're even confronted with Pennywise, makes them relatable. A-hole father, being bullied, having abusive parents, not feeling seen or heard. No matter what type of kid you were, you can relate to probably at least one of them. Having feeling nowhere safe to go and everything. You want to root for these kids. And another, Haley mentioned a funny part when Richie is, Pennywise has got Bill. He's like, "I'm going to kill him if you let me have him." Richie's talking about all the shitty things Bill did. He's like, "Now I got to kill this effing clown."
Oh, mid sentence too.
Mid effing. All right. So I gotta throw in a little. Like, I've never liked kids in movies, and
It's
I get it. It's part of the story. my opinion.
It's annoying. You get these little plucky kids who want to go defeat the demon. I'm like, come on.
Yeah. I just never been a big fan of kids in movies in general, horror or anything. Never found them creepy. Just found them annoying. So, but anyways, we move on. We move on to kills, and for kills, we are going to start with Uncle Pete.
As a lovely me would say, I want the movie that has the kill that maybe go, ugh. Pet Sematary, old Gage's death. I can't watch that as an adult. It's just terrifying. Judd's death. He gets slashed in the Achilles tendon, and then Gage rips his freaking throat out. Lewis buries his wife. She comes back, get that goopy kiss at the end. The kills in it, I don't really remember them, even with Georgie's. Pet Sematary, when Gage dies for a second time. No fair. No fair. It just shakes me to my core. It's just, I never want to watch Pet Sematary's Gage's death again. It's just too much. Really hits you hard.
Definitely, from a parent perspective, it would, it messes with you a lot more than when you're a teenager watching that film, right? But, all right, Haley.
I am also going to go with Pet Sematary, just because the kind of feeling behind all of them, like they are very sad. And like the whole kind of road sequence is like, I don't have kids, I have a dog, but and I cry in every movie. Like I cried in Jurassic Park. That's a tale for a different day. But all of the deaths are very sad, and then also the whole Achilles tendon thing, like, ooh, like if anything touches my tendon, I start thinking about the Pet Sematary scene, and just kind of all of them have kind of a much more kind of iconic type of death to them.
Oh, Leighanne, I see disappointment.
39.
I saw disappointment in your eyes, sorrow in your heart.
Thought I was going to get Haley Wise. I'm really disappointed
No.
now.
Well, maybe you'll land the white whale. We'll go to John. You're up.
That's a comment on my weight.
No.
No, I'm gonna give this. I'm gonna give this to Pet Sematary. Also, like others have said, they both movies kind of have one money kill for me. It's in it, it's Georgie, that whole scene. In Pet Sematary, it's poor Judd. But again, the Achilles tendon is just the most awful thing I've seen in a long time when I watched it. The rest of the kills in it are kind of forgettable. It's usually just Pennywise doing that weird dancey face thing and charging at them, and then it kind of cuts away. And then the Pet Sematary kills are also really heavy and sad. So Pet Sematary's kills are definitely more memorable and intense.
All right.
You've got a timer. I mean, you're
I don't
always
have a
within
timer.
like 2 or 3 seconds.
I have a timer. I have a post-it note with my choices that you hopefully didn't just read, but I change them half the time.
I'll say this with John though. Like, I mean, there's times where I could tell like someone's like trying to beat the clock, and you could tell. With John though, like he starts and finishes his point succinctly, and it doesn't
Not rushed.
Yeah, never rushed. Just pretty cool. Someone knows how to play the game.
I always feel rushed, like I'm rushing. But,
Yeah, I don't know. You get it. You seem to have your periods in the right place at the end, and that's keeping you alive. All right.
I don't like it.
Tell us how you feel, Leighanne. All right. So we have one more opinion in this round. We'll go to Jacob.
Okay, for kills, I have to give it to Pet Sematary. The Achilles tendon thing will forever be in my brain. Also, just that truck that's its own character that's barreling down the street, taking people out is like, it's so eerie and ominous. And, that the kills in it are a little more ambiguous off screen, like the kid getting pulled in the drain and everything. But I Pet Sematary is my favorite.
All right. All right, so we're moving on to Scare Factor, and for this one, we will start off with Haley.
So I'm going to go with Pet Sematary. The reason being, the first time I ever saw it was like in bits and pieces when I was a kid, and my parents were watching it downstairs. And the scene where they bring in the student and he has, kind of coming back and he like says the thing, and I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. But not like, I was like 5, I wouldn't have said that. But I was like, that is a no-go. And I found it so scary. And then when I actually watched it like a few years later, I'm like, this shit's scary. As we're like 2017, that's a fun time. Not too scary in my opinion, but I do.
She deserves it for cursing like that. Holy crap!
So sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. We don't want to be PG. All right. Scare factor, John.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this to Pet Cemetery. I think it's just much more intense. We haven't talked about creepy ass Zelda yet, but Zelda was terrifying then. She's still terrifying now. And just the whole thing, the way it kind of builds and gets worse and worse and worse, and there's very few characters involved, so you know something bad's going to keep happening just to those few people. And kind of Haley's point, it's like popcorn horror. It's fun to watch. It's scary, but it doesn't like stick to your ribs the way Pet Sematary does, because it just kind of pulls you apart in a bunch of different ways and kind of just kind of ruins your day that way.
All right. Uncle Pete, give us your
Yeah,
40
also-
seconds and throw in an F bomb. What the hell?
Also, Pet Cemetery. I already talked about when Gage gets run over. That's terrifying as a parent. Makes me sick to watch. And we've already brought up Zelda. If that's not nightmare fuel on a speedball, I don't know what is. I was 12 when this movie came out, and it's Rachel, never get out of bed again. Never get out of bed again. Fuck no. I'm out. I'm out. Bye. I'm leaving. See ya. Ain't happening.
All right. Zelda is one of the scariest things ever in horror films. Ever. And it still holds up today when I watch that scene. That is just messed up. Jacob, you're up.
Scare factor's going 100% to Pet Sematary. I'm all about practical effects. I'm all about the kind of unknown and the buildup of tension. To me, this It remake is just the everything I dislike about a lot of modern horror. This sort of like play a loud noise and have the Pennywise clown shaking around, and it's in your face. This is the part that's scary, and to me, the Pet Cemetery, you're always kind of like on edge as to when you're going to be scared. I mean, random times like the ant in the bed with the explosion.
All right, so let's move on to antagonist, and for this one, we will start off with John.
Well, for me, this one's Pennywise. You can probably see I have a bunch of Pennywise stuff here in the corner. I love the redesign. I thought he was crazy and creepy, and he said some pretty unnerving things. With Pet Cemetery, it's kind of a more abstract terror, but it's kind of tough to define what the antagonist actually is. You can kind of take it a bunch of different directions. But for someone who just loves movie monsters, Pennywise is the newest and I think probably the best one in a long time. So it was good to see him back, and he's kind of an easy pick for me.
All right. Uncle Pete.
I'm going to go with everybody else and go, really, he's the embodiment of pure evil, Pennywise. You know, he does this thing where he turns things these kids are scared of, he turns like into that form, whether it's a mummy, some weird leper creature, you know, a clown, a scumbag parent. Bill Skarsgård is just excellent as Pennywise. Not saying he's better than Tim Curry. He's just different, scary in a different way, more direct way, but both done exceptionally well. But yeah, he's the embodiment of pure evil. Evil just to be evil for the sake of being evil. Yeah, Bill Skarsgård.
Antagonist, Jacob, you're up.
Antagonist was hard because I collectively like the antagonists in Pet Sematary a lot. The truck, I like the cat, and I like all the revived people coming back and causing mayhem. But Pennywise the clown is the greatest sort of clown horror icon. You know, Art the Clown is kind of now coming out as the Terrifier thing, but Pennywise is such a classic that I have to give it to him.
All right, and we will end off with Haley. Kind of think I know what you're gonna say, but let's run the 40 seconds anyway.
Well, I'm sure this is going to be shocking. I'm going with Pennywise. I do think the way that they reimagined him was really well done. Like very kind of much higher quality, and also just Bill Skarsgård is so talented. The thing that he does with his eye is actually something that he does. It's not CGI. Also, like for some reason, everyone's like, is Pennywise hot? And all of us were kind of like, at least on the side of the internet I'm on, they're all like, make me float, daddy. And I'm like, you know what? I'm here for this. So like, I just think that he also is very scary, in the way that everyone has said. He can transform into whatever scares you. And like, he's just unrelenting,
Kill.
coming to get.
Gotcha again. I'm killing Pennywise. This is amazing.
Good stuff. Good stuff. We'll see how much you
Can I
all
just
love
say
this
I went to a
guy.
Halloween party as Pennywise, and I was not hot Pennywise apparently because everyone was terrified of me.
We will move on to movie poster, and for this one, we will start off with Uncle Pete.
Yeah, I had to look at both of them, but I like Pet Cemeteries definitely a lot more because you got, I think it's Pascal, that he's kind of like zombified. You see kind of a wound. It looks like a ripped page, which adds into the whole book aspect. Just a cemetery in the background is all like dilapidated and broken down. It's dark. One eye is like golden. One eye is blue. You don't know what the hell's happening. Like, how's this going to play in? Because I saw the movie before I read the book. So okay, you see Georgie there with the raincoat and the balloon. Man, Pet Sematary tells you a lot more without telling you too much.
All right, Big John, you're up.
Yeah, I'm going to give this one to It. I like that it kind of went for the more iconic look. It's just, the yellow raincoat, the black background. You can kind of see Pennywise, but you can't. I think by this point, people knew he was going to be there, so they didn't have to hide him as much. When I saw the Pet Sematary poster, I didn't understand why Pascal was the focus of the poster. It's like he's not the most important person in the movie, and he doesn't add something that would you go into the movie wondering that much about him based on the poster. So I didn't understand the layout or the design. You thought it would be the cat or something like that, be more prominent. It's sort of iconic and simple, but I think it more effectively told you what was coming up.
Haley.
So I'm going to go with It. While I do love how 80s the poster of Pet Sematary is, I do think that the It poster is just very kind of like tasteful and to the point. Like Georgie's in a raincoat, there's rain on the ground. You see Pennywise asleep, you're like, oh, the costume's different. Behind the balloon, you can also see Pennywise's face a little bit. So it's just kind of very to the point. And then the tagline of like, you'll float too. And you're like, ooh, okay, what's this about? So I do prefer the It poster.
And we move on to Jacob.
I'm definitely giving the movie poster to It. The Pet Sematary poster's always been strange to me. The eyes and the cemetery itself. It's a little too revealing. To me, like even just a picture of the cat or something would be more impressive and simple. The simplicity of like the kid, the balloon, and kind of the Pennywise in the background of the poster. It tells you like everything you need to know and invites you into it as opposed to being like a smattering of stuff going on.
All right, that's that for this round. I will, you know what you were saying, John? I remember when Pet Sematary was coming out, and I got the Fangoria magazine, and Pascal was like, he looked like the poster. He looked like he was this film. It was so confusing. There was so like someone also mentioned that Pet Sematary is like all over the place. It's almost like an anthology within itself, but it's not, right? But I was so surprised when I saw the film and saw how that role was not like what I thought it was going to be. So I'm glad you brought it up. All right, we are going to the end of this episode, and the final category is ending. Let's do it. All right, let's start off with John.
Yeah, I'm going to give this to Pet Sematary. I love that it gets weirder and weirder, and you think it's going to be this kind of happily ever after moment, but then it has that sort of old Stephen King twist to the end that he used to do, especially like in his old short stories, where it never ended kind of on a happy note. And I love that they kind of cut away before they showed the real ending, just because you don't need to see that. It's cooler to kind of imagine it. It just kind of ends. It's kind of a happily ever after in its own way, even though we know there's a sequel coming. But there's nothing particularly cool about it. Pet Sematary is a real throwback ending to sort of dark, twisty Stephen King stuff, so I really appreciated that.
Uncle Pete.
Pet Sematary. Why? Because first I played with Jed, then Mommy came. I played with Mommy. We played, Daddy. We had an awful good time. And now I want to play with you. Oh. No. Just no. And then he gives Gage that little injection. He's all, no fair. No fair. Rachel comes back from the pet cemetery. They kiss, and this gloop falls out of the side of her face. Not a happy ending for anybody. You end that movie like, I gotta go watch like the Muppets or something because it's just so devastating.
All right. Okay, and you made it within the time. Haley, you're up.
So I'm also gonna go with Pet Cemetery just because like that whole kind of like ending few scenes, which is like shit hits the fan. Homeboy is making horrible, horrible decisions with his life, and you're like, well, I guess we're gonna see where this goes. Just absolute shit hits the fan, and like the world's grossest kiss, which I'm like, that would have been a nightmare to film. Yuck. And then to tie it back to Judd, my favorite thing that he said, he's like, I never lie about beer. A man that lies about beer makes enemies. And I'm like, wise man.
All right. And for ending, let's hear what Jacob has to say. You're up.
The ending to Pet Sematary is so perfect because you totally get the plight of, burying your wife, and do we then bring her back as this terrible form, or do we live without her? And it's really a fascinating sort of like internalized struggle that we go through. It is wrapped up a little too nicely in a bow. I also felt like once we get rid of Pennywise, just standing there with the kids making their blood oath pack, I'm like, let's wrap it up here. Like once the kind of the antagonist is gone, I'm ready for it to just. Oh.
All right. So that brings to a close this Stephen King episode. I guarantee there will be more Stephen King episodes on this show. And before we get to the winner, obviously we have a bloody take to hand out. And for this one, I'm going to give it to the man who ended the ending category with great imitations. Uncle Pete, you won. Again, you mentioned the Muppets. This is, I think, the second episode in a row Muppets have come up, and I think it's the second time that I've given it to the. This one was unrelated, but well done, my friend. You've won this award many times, so you wear it well. Congrats. And for all of you, it's something to strive for, right? Now we know this bloody take is something special, so we got to fight for it.
I would have thought it was going to be the Zelda impression, not the game.
It was
Haley.
It was.
I saw Haley's reaction for the Zelda, and she did not like it.
It was good. I had to go away to have a little laugh. I'm like, conserve yourself. Don't make yourself too loud in the laugh. It was so good. It was wonderful.
It was good. It was lovely. But anyways, we need to crown a winner, and for that, we will talk to Leighanne and see what she has to say.
This one's like the most I've seen really battle it out the entire time. It was just hand in hand, just going at it. 1 minute it'd be it, 1 minute it'd be Pet Sematary, but in the end, our winner is Pet Sematary by a smidgen.
By a smidgen, you hear that? Smidgen. Yeah, I had no idea who was going to win this one. I know sometimes I'm out to lunch. I think it's closer than it's going to be, but it's not. This one, I was like, wow, this is really back and forth. So that's awesome. Great episode, great panelists. Thank you for joining us, guys. And we'll see you soon. Stay tuned for what is coming up on the next episode of Horror Face Off. We will see you soon.